I have no idea, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea how I came across it. But I found a story that was wrote about knights. Somewhere in some place over in Europe somewhere. I have no idea even where it's at. I tried to find it and tried to find it. Couldn't even figure out where it would have been. I figured out it was somewhere in Europe. Better than what I had. But what caught my attention was these knights that they had a custom when it came to being baptized. Now, when they were baptized by full immersion, just like us, okay? Which is a great thing for that time period. But they had a practice and a custom that when a knight would be baptized, he would be baptized in his armor, and he would keep his sword with him. Okay? But you know what he would do before he was baptized? He would hold his sword in the air. And as they immersed him, everything went underwater until they got to a sword. And that sword never went underwater, and they'd raise him back up. You know why they did that? It was to show people that Christ had possession of every part of that knight except for that sword. They were saying, Lord, you can have everything of me that there is except for my sword, and I'll control it and what I do with it. You can have everything but that. That is something left up to me. So they would hold it up out of the water, signifying they still controlled that. That Christ had everything else except for that one thing. I want you to think about something. Think about if that tradition still applied today. And people still did stuff like that today. But it wasn't just with knights, it was with anyone. How many people today would you see baptized and hold things up out of the water? Showing that the Lord could have all of them except for. I mean, let's be honest. What would you hold up? Some of us would stick our wallet in there and say, hey, you can have everything except this because I worked too hard for this. This is mine. You don't get any of it. You know what else they would do? You know those pretty little things that you call phones? Everybody walks around with? I'll be honest with you, sometimes they annoy me. But you know what? Some of us would hold up that phone and say, you can have everything except for what's right here. Because this means everything to me. Without it, I'd die. You know, stop and think about that. Some people today, if you take their phones away from them, you literally think they've died. I mean, that has killed them. Literally. Some of you would hold up a computer and say, hey, just don't take my computer, it's my life. Everything I need to do, I can do from right here. You can have everything but it. Some of us would hold up a remote control for the TV or something. And say, all right, Christ, you can have everything in my life. Except for this right here, because I'm going to watch what I want to and listen to what I want to. And it don't matter what I do with it. You can't have it. I'll do what I want with it. Some of us would hold up something like a watch to represent time. And say, all right, Lord, you can have all of me except for my time. Because my time is too valuable to me. So you can have all of me but that. But if you get to where I'm going with this, is that there's numerous things that we would hold up and say, all right, God, you can have everything but them. I give you my life except for this. My question for you is simply this. What is it? What is it that you would hold up? What is it that's holding you back as we've went through some of these different things here as we've started this, I want you to listen to a few things that we've covered. And these are things that held people back from following Christ. We talked about Nicodemus several weeks ago. And you know what held Nicodemus back from following Christ? His religious reputation. He said, I've worked too hard to become the man I became in the Sanhedrin. If I follow you, I'll lose everything. So I can't do it. You can have me, but you can't have this. This part of my life is my own. Then we talked about the rich young ruler. And you know what he said? You can have everything except for my stuff. My stuff is my enjoyment. My stuff is what I love and what I care about. I'll do anything for you except give any of that up. That's where I draw the line, is giving up my stuff. His possessions held him back. In verse 57 and 58 of Luke chapter 9, the very first man we met, comfort is what held him back. When he was asked what he would give up, he said, I'd give everything up except for that. That being comfort. I'm not going to lose being comfortable to follow you. If I can't live a comfortable life, you can forget it. I deserve to be comfortable. Let me ask you a question. What do you really deserve? Do you deserve to be comfortable in your life? Do you think you deserve everything you got in life? If you do, you're sadly mistaken. Because we don't deserve it. It's by God's love and His grace that we have every bit. Amen. But we don't deserve it. But a lot of us look at it and say, we deserve these things. I worked hard for these things. But you know what? Reality is God gave you every bit of it. Amen. You don't deserve it. He gave it to you. Go down a couple of more verses. In Luke 9, 59 and 60. The man that we talked about last week, and what held him back. You know what was holding him back from following Christ? His father. His father held him back. He was afraid to follow Christ or to do anything for him until his father was gone. Why, we don't know. But we know that's what held him back. And then here, in Luke 9, 61 and 62, we find this last man that says and jumps at the chance, Lord, I'll follow you. But there's something holding him back too. You know what that is? Family and everybody at his house was holding him back. It was what was preventing him from following Christ. All these things kept these men from following Christ, kept these people from following Christ. Before we go any further in this message, I want you to think about something just for a second. And every one of you will probably have an answer just like that. But I want you to stop, and the very first thing that comes to your mind when I ask you a question, I want you to remember this. What is the very most thing in your life that you value? What's the most valued thing in your life? Now, what about that?